Hello, my name is Aiden,
Hello, I'm Ellie.
and today we're going to be recording a new podcast called Monke Hour.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun.
We have a whole lineup of different things that we can talk about, and it's just going to be a blast.
It's gonna be a whole event. It's gonna be really amazing.
The best podcast you'll ever see on the internet, especially about occultism.
Oh yeah, this is gonna definitely surpass everyone else's, obviously.
Yeah, we're the best.
Mm-hmm. It's actually a certified fact.
Yeah, you can't prove us wrong. We have science to back this.
Yeah, our source is ourselves, so therefore everyone is wrong. Yes,
Yes, 93.
yes, 93. I'm so addicted to saying yes, 93. And then my sister suggested that instead of yes, 93, it should be yes, 69. And even though she doesn't know who Crowley is, she said it's what Crowley would have wanted. And I think she's right.
She's accurate in that assumption.
Very accurate. So 69, 69, 69.
I want to find out the gematria of 69 now.
I don't know. I don't know. But I think it's something, maybe the post Dolamites will pick it up. You never know.
The post element. Yes, the post-Elamites will understand all things when it comes to
I
Thelema.
know. Oh, definitely. I think they really got something interesting going. Who knows? Maybe they'll. I don't know. What's a mess?
It's interesting. I'm excited to see what comes of it, honestly.
I feel the same way because I don't really understand what I get what they're trying to do, but I'm not seeing anything that's happening yet. So I want to
Yeah,
see. I want to see from the sidelines how this goes down and just like watch.
it should be interesting. I
Oh,
keep
it
hearing that
should be.
I keep hearing that post-Thelema is not what we all think it is. It's like something more than what's been put out. But
Yeah.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I don't know. I think it's just trying to get people interested. Like, ooh, it's not what you think it is. Then tell us what it is, Marco.
Marco, give us the answers.
Marco, please. Marco's right now is just showing us little ankle, but we want to see the full body.
Exactly.
A little tease. Yes.
Yes, 93. God damn.
You're 16. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's intriguing to see the development of everything that's coming out because we're in this new age of occultism. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I'm saying? It's this
Yeah.
definitely. And with new age, it's going to be very fun when you and I are going to be in our 40s. And then we're
Oh
going
my
to think,
god.
yes, we're going to think, yes, this was right now was the height of occultism. And then like in the 2040s, we're going to be like, this is the new dumbass new age shit. And
Yeah.
that's the reality we live in. This is the peak.
I mean, everything was New Age at one point. I forgot what it's called. Kia Solomon was New Age at one point, if you think about it. Renaissance magic was all
Yeah.
New Age.
Man, I hate King of Solomon. He was such a new ager.
Oh my god.
Man.
King Solomon's my favorite New Age. I mean, he worked with angels, if you think about it.
I mean, technically, yeah.
What's
You're
the difference
not.
between a New Ager and
Shit.
King Solomon?
Yeah, we're not wrong. And that's the crazy part. It's very interesting.
There really is no difference if you think about it.
True. It's just because we're here now, we're looking at things back then, and we're thinking, oh, that's obviously better. But that's because things right now haven't really fully developed and cooked. Like, it's still simmering.
Yeah, it's still waiting to become its own full-fledged system.
Definitely. Yeah, so we just have to sit and wait. And then, like, in maybe a year or two, we're gonna be like, oh, that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so perhaps we judge things too early. So maybe I am judging post Thelema
No.
too early.
No,
But
we're
at the
not.
no, we're not true. Okay, I took that a little too far, but still, we gotta see.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think as we go along, there'll be a lot more developments that will come from the occult community.
Mhm.
Um, that will seem strange because they're brand new or redone. Because I generally feel like a lot of things, like at least in my own studies, are just things being redone and rebrought into the light of occultism that aren't
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure like these ideas and concepts that we're just now coming up with existed before us, just different people never wrote them down.
I think so. I think that's interesting to see. Like, perhaps there were popular occultists amidst Spare and Crowley, but they just weren't known.
Oh,
And
true,
I'm sure
yeah.
that's gonna happen right now because you and I, we know people who are fundamentally genius, but maybe they won't write anything down and they'll be lost amongst occultists that put themselves out there more.
Definitely. Like we have our very clear occult writers now, like Matt Oren, E.A. Coetting. I'm trying to think of other important people and that are authors. I guess Temperance
Peter
Alden, but
Gray.
like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, Peter Gray. How I forget?
yeah,
But
yeah. So, go ahead.
like, there's like so many others that like we just don't know who won't write anything down. They'll just keep their studies to themselves, and we'll get tiny bits of information from them, and we'll learn a tiny bit.
Yes. I think I don't know, some people just don't want to put their work out there, and I think there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that, which is true. I guess it depends on their will and what they want to do, because I know some people believe it is their will to share their gnosis, right? And I think we've definitely benefited from people from the past from that.
Yeah,
But I guess, if someone just doesn't want to do it, then that's completely fair and understandable.
right. No one should have to share something that they don't feel comfortable with. One of the first principles of occultism is to keep silent.
Oh, yeah,
So that is a principle.
it is a principle. And it's definitely an important one because I know there are certain rights that you and I know of that it shouldn't be given to beginners, obviously.
Oh,
And I think
definitely.
with what we're seeing with this reality shifting right now, it's definitely something that could definitely be delusionary. Is that a word, delusionary?
Delusional.
It, yes, delusional. Delusional to others, or especially to beginners, because they don't understand the core concepts of it and they're using it as a way of escapism. And occultism is an easy way to become an escapist.
Definitely. It's I think especially like mysticism becomes a form of escapism because when you're chasing some far off abstract concept instead of trying to focus on the real physical world that you can touch and is tangible, you're gonna end up getting lost in your thoughts and ideas about this universe that you can't really fully interact with on a full material level because there's a point where chasing after the supernatural, chasing after what's beyond us becomes a hindrance on our physical bodies because we can't escape this physical world, as far as I know, at least, until death.
And people do try to think that they can escape this physical world. And they believe that. And instead of focusing on the material that we have, they focus on something that is beyond them or what they can understand. And you and I know people like that. And not to name drop or anything. But,
Yeah,
and we see how that can mentally affect someone. And it's such an important concept of escapism and the dangers of what it can lead to people and how it affects their psyche.
absolutely. Because, like, if you aren't careful, you can destroy your psyche and not in the good way. You won't have a
Mm-hmm.
fun ego death.
Yes, that's true. And I think people definitely try to search for this ascension in a way, but I don't know if there are wrong reasons, perhaps, but I think there are reasons that could, I mean, as I said before, damage your psyche, where people like search for this power, or they want
Yeah.
this power, or they just want something more, but it's not really what they need, it's just something that they want.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's like searching for stuff that you need versus something that you want. Like,
Mm
just because you want something doesn't mean you should get it. I want a lot of things that I know I shouldn't get.
hmm. Yes. I think what I'm reading right now with True Will, it's not, or deciphering what is your will and what isn't your will. The big difference is what is something that you consciously want or what is something that you need that aligns with the universe. And I think these are important questions that we should be asking ourselves rather than, I mean, I guess I suppose anyone can do what they want, but it's important to acknowledge why are we doing this and what are we here for to help higher ourselves.
Yeah. Occultism should be about bettering yourself, not trying to escape into a delusional fantasy world.
Mm-hmm. So, you ever got a STD from a spirit before?
um, Not as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't really a way to check that out. I
Spiritual
mean,
doctor.
the medicine man, sir.
Yes.
Do I have spirit aids? Please tell me. I think with the rise of sleeping or having sexual contact with a ghost, which is probably just, I think it's illusionary. I think, you know, these are serious matters. Oh my
This
god.
is a serious. This is a serious matter for a serious time.
It really is. I mean, we're in this new age of delusion, people reality shifting to Hogwarts wearing Draco. I think these are important questions we should be asking ourselves.
Yes. Can you
Yeah.
get spirit STDs, and how can you remove them?
Are there ways to remove them? I don't know. This is why we need someone to tell us the answers to this.
Yes. These are the questions we need to be asking. We're gonna
I
invoke
know.
Crowley and ask him.
You get probably an STD from Crowley's ghost.
Yeah, probably a few
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I think that's one source of getting spirit aids or an STD.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
I have always wondered, like, what does like what is spirit sex? 'Cause that's like a big thing. Like, it's cross cultural. It's like talked about a lot, but what is it?
You know, that's a good question. I have no answer to that because I wonder the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I get it, but also I don't. Because I hear people's stories and I'm like, yes, that makes sense, kind of. But also with my further beliefs in reincarnation, it's like, okay, is it a limbo? I think it might be a limbo.
How do you mean?
But then, like, not purgatory. I mean, I guess it's kind of like purgatory, where people are stuck for a while, and finally they move on into the cycle, maybe. But also then it makes you think, well, what are the astral beings that live there too? Right?
Oh,
Because
true.
people come in contact with these things. I'm like, man, I have no idea. Because thought forms, sure. Definitely, I think things that we project definitely can attack us psychically. But also, I'm sure there are some things that aren't what we think they are. Maybe they're just aliens.
True. I believe everything's aliens.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem is when we say it's alien, there's a stigma against the concept of alien, or we have this dual idea of what an alien is because we think of, small gray man, big head, right?
Yeah.
And so when we say alien, we kind of consider that instead of other things. Like, I'm sure hypothetically, there's probably aliens on Earth. Like, come on, have you seen the deep depths of the ocean? Like, what the hell is
True.
going on under there? Dude, I have no idea.
That
I have
shit's
no idea.
scary.
It is scary. They look so. It is weird, and it's kind of cool at the same time. But I mean, if there's aliens, it's in the sea, dude. It's in the sea.
Accurate.
Very accurate. But yeah, I think it is essentially aliens. We just prefer not to call them that, I suppose.
Yeah. No, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
crack theories out there, like
Yeah.
um, that Iwas was an alien, which I personally
I
don't
mean,
think makes as much sense as other things being aliens. Because like I think the HGA is definitely like a part of ourselves that's like
yeah.
elevated, unless we're the aliens.
True. Yeah, I don't think Iwas was essentially an alien. I think that's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
But I don't know about. I think, I mean, the whole point, perhaps, maybe. I'm not very in depth with Crowley lore. But I was, aka I was. I mean, I think that's a whole joke in itself that it was just Crowley the whole time, but the higher conscious self.
I only just now put together that it was I was.
Yeah.
I just now
I
put
learned.
that together.
Yeah. I think that was the whole point. Big brain stuff happening here.
Gnosis.
It is, definitely. I know. I think it's interesting how people name their HGAs, or the HGA gives them their name. Like, you're basically naming your higher conscious self. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I honestly don't think you can give a true name to something like that. It's like trying to name
Yeah.
God, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's maybe easier on the brain, I suppose. But you're just naming yourself, your higher self. I
Yeah.
mean, it is you. You're just giving yourself another name, which I guess isn't really wrong because I know people have different names for themselves in different stages of lives, I suppose. So, I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
I support it. I
I
want someone
support.
to name. Yeah, I want someone to name their HGA like something really fucking stupid, like a Demon Slayer 666.
Demon Slayer 666.
I'll do that. You have my word, Aiden. You have my word that when I ascend across the abyss, I will name my HGA Demon Slayer 666.
I support that entirely.
Thank you. That's a promise. That's a pinky promise right there.
Pinky promise to your HGA.
Yes, most definite. Most definitely. But I feel, I don't know. Do you think people pay more attention to the conception of the HGA or the shadow self or the daemon?
I think there's a lot of focus on the shadow self, but a lot of people don't seem
Mm-hmm.
to really understand what the shadow self is. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even fully understand what the shadow self is, not gonna lie. But I've seen some
Yes.
really awful takes on what the shadow self is.
Hmm.
Like,
Interesting. I mean, yes. I feel we don't really conceptualize daemon as much. I mean, I wish I had. I don't know much about the topic, to be honest. So I don't know if I should even be talking about it. But I think, I mean, it's just the conscience, I suppose. So then, I mean, everything is the conscious, I suppose. It's fucking psychology. It's all psychology.
everything is psychology.
hmm Oh, it certainly is. And I don't know, I think it's interesting because I think there needs to be a middle ground of what is and what not. Because I think inherently a lot of things are psychological. And I feel that people try to deny it as a bad thing, as if things aren't real because of it. But no, it is saying it's real, right? It's
Right.
saying this is this is real and we are essentially proving it. But people don't want that to be a thing in a way. It's like, oh no. It's like assuming it isn't real, but it is real. And I think there needs to be a middle ground of the psych model, but also understanding that some things are beyond our comprehension of what is possible. Because, I mean, I suppose we could explain everything through psychology, but I think there are things where it's impossible. Because, for example, spirits, we could say the astral entities or spirits are inherently thought forms, right? But also, what if they're not? Because I
True.
think some things definitely are separate from us, unless we're referring to the collective unconscious. But I would need a young person to talk about that.
A young yin.
Yes. I
Uh,
liked. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess like it does make sense for a lot of things to be psychological because it is our perception and a
That
lot of
is
things
true,
that
exactly.
yeah, a lot of things that we do are based out of psychology, like meditation, grounding, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all psychology. And when I started out with witchcraft, like a lot of things that I was taught were psychologically based. That was a word. Were psychologically based, and I figured things out from there. Like there's like the whole concept of astral temples when I was getting into occultism and like doing things
Mm-hmm.
on the astral, but that was like in your mind. We understood that to be in your mind at the time. And like you could always go to your mind temple, your astral temple, or like there's a whole thing about rhyming and rhymes when I was getting into it, and like the reason why we rhyme in spells and stuff is because it gets into our subconscious a lot easier because we're able to make these connections in our mind with syllables and things like that. Like a lot of it is pop
Yeah.
psychology, but still, it does make
Mm-hmm.
sense.
I think you're right. I agree. I just, I don't know. It hurts my brain.
It's supposed
My
to.
small, yeah, my small monkey brain. Because I just like, I think it's important to obviously have a basis of what you know, but also think outside the box of, oh, perhaps this isn't what it is. Because when we do this and think, oh, maybe it's not this at all, then we can prove maybe it is or it isn't, and then have a stronger basis of our foundation and beliefs, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to do in occultism too, because like having a beginner's mind, and because if you always believe this one thing and this one thing constantly, then someone says, well, this is my opinion on it, and inherently hearing other people's opinions on one thing or differentiating opinions, it's good because I think that's the important thing in occultism is hearing other people's opinions because everything is loosely or strongly based on our own gnosis, right? And
Yeah,
so it's important for us to hear others and see that we're not insane or we're all insane.
I lean towards the last one, honestly. We're all insane.
Yes, 93.
Yes, 69.
Perfect. But yeah, I'm sure. I feel like there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of occultism and the mentally ill. And I think there's a lot of mentally ill people here. Maybe everyone's mentally ill in some way or form. It's just, we know some people who are more on the extreme level.
Yeah, there's definitely a spectrum of it. Most things in life are on a spectrum, honestly.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the worst thing I was ever told was everything is binary.
Oof.
And I was just like, how?
Oh my, that's funny. I like that. Yes. I mean, with existence. I mean, if we look at Kabbalah, it's non-duality. I mean, what I've seen from exploring different paradigms, and there's a connection. Not there's such a deep connection of non-duality, and you see it everywhere within
Yeah.
each paradigm, and it's very interesting because in tradcraft you have the bukas, right, and then in Kabbalah we have the what is it the supernal triad.
Supernal
Oof,
triad, yeah.
yes. Hopefully I got that right. Oof. Now I want to check, but whatever. I'll check later, and then maybe we can cut that out if I got it wrong. But I mean, yeah. And then in Taoism, there's non-duality, and oof, the list goes on. It's an important concept.
For sure. Yeah, I tend to. I have some issues with non-duality just because like how I was raised in a very dual
Mm-hmm.
like system. Um, but I'm working through it to like kind of try to understand it a lot better and get more
Yeah,
out of it.
that's good. I think. I think it's important because I think in this day and age, everything is a loosely based in duality, and there's so many things built on having extreme and radical opinions, which I think I definitely have some radical opinions myself. But I think if we all think radically in one way or another, there's no way for us to balance ourselves. And I think that's where non duality comes in. Because both sides become one, essentially, with radicalism.
True. I think in general, radical ideologies tend to attract more people because they want to see radical change in the world, and when they can't get that,
Mm-hmm.
they turn to these radical ideas to try and make a big change instead of focusing on the little things.
Oh, I agree. I think that's so. But the thing is, with radical ideas and ideologies, it doesn't really pull like no for the normal man, the normal. It doesn't really attract them. It scares them.
Yeah,
It scares society because it's like, yeah, sure, utopia. It's fun. It's a fun concept. But no, we just want to get the homeless off the streets. Let's focus on that first.
yeah. We have so many issues in the world that we just need to focus on those and try fixing each of those first before we can try to go towards some idealistic, perfect world that really doesn't exist except in our minds. Because when you try to bring it into reality, it doesn't really make a lot of sense and it doesn't really hold up to how societies function and how people in general function.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's such an important thing to discuss, definitely. Because it's so easy to fall into the pit of radicalism. Because I think, especially for young people, we're seeing the world right now as it is, and it's not good. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, for you and me, we live in a good country, I suppose. I mean, it's good for. It's not bad,
Yeah.
but we see what's happening, and we know how, or we believe we know how it can be better, right? And so it's so easy to fall in. They're like traps. They're like little, in Looney. It was in Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry, and then you see the box, and there's like cheese under it or food, and you're like, oh shit, that's food under the box. And then you go under the box, then there's a stick you don't see, and then you're trapped under the box. That's that's radical ideologies.
Damn, sick metaphor.
Thank you. Because it's so alluring, right? Like, oh, we could do all of this. Oh, nice. But then you realize you're trapped in this cage where I know I say this a lot, but it's delusion because
Yeah.
you're believing we're in this world and that we could do all these things, but in reality we can't. And it's focusing on the issues that aren't um, possible to fix at the moment.
Yeah. Mm. There's just so many different small little things that add up together to make a bigger problem that need to be fixed on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's definitely the domino effect where you can't, like, if you just push one domino, then it'll lead into a chain reaction. But if we go two ahead, push a domino, then it won't. A metaphor. Okay, I lost my metaphor.
Oh
but
no.
it was, but it's just bit by bit. That's probably the best way to do it. But I am not a political science major, so who knows?
Not yet.
Not yet. No, never. Never.
Fair enough.
I'll be a politician.
I've been told I'd be a good politician.
Interesting. Yeah, true. Hmm. And I think, okay, since we were talking about politics, we could focus on anarcho primitivism.
Yeah.
Primitivism. Yes, definitely. Because I know you're interested in that ideology, right?
Yeah. Like, I think it's an interesting concept. Most of my like political ideologies and philosophies aren't my actual like practical philosophies, but, like my ideal philosophies, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I do think what's happening right now, like the rise of, hear me out, the rise of occultism right now, or this, I mean, you see, like, it's getting so popular now. And I think, in a way, it doesn't necessarily have to do with anarcho primitivism and prim, but there's definitely a connection of wanting to escape the technological world we live in and returning to nature in a way.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of like return to nature movements before, like
Mm-hmm.
naturalism and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think.
So I think
Yeah, go ahead.
so I think it makes sense that we're seeing a resurgence of that now. This is just the new generation's version of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It is a resurgence, and it seems to be a resurgence every decade or so. It is interesting to see these patterns in time.
Yeah. I mean, everything is cyclical at the end of the day. So we're just gonna see the same things come up but in a new format that might be better.
Yeah, I think it is. I think we're progressing in a way where we're keeping these same, not, I wouldn't say ideologies, but beliefs, I guess. But we're trying to get rid of the idealism, and we're trying to
Yeah,
implement it in a more way where we're able to affect the system more.
for sure. We're trying
Yeah.
to break things down more instead of just going and attacking it head on, I think.
Yeah, I think in the 60s, they were so focused on idealism that they weren't able to do as much as they wanted. And I think there's a lot of backlash because of that. But I think now, with the new movements that are happening today, there is still, I think there's definitely a big difference in implementing that.
I'm nodding my head, sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. It's totally fine. Thinking we should have probably made more topics.
True.
Yeah, we did. Okay, no worries. Thinking. What are your thoughts in occult media, or not occult media, but occultism in media now? Do you think it's gotten better in terms of viewing, or has it just
Um,
been used as a way to scare people?
it's definitely still used as a spooky sort of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like no matter how people paint it, they always still like have the spooky aesthetic to it, like the spooky edge to it. Even if they are trying to paint in a good light, they always
Yeah.
advertise at the very least as like something spooky or eerie and creepy and all those adjectives.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I haven't watched a lot of occult movies in general, but the ones I've seen from the past versus the ones I see now, the past ones have been a little more accurate.
Yeah,
Like, have you ever
definitely.
seen The Holy Mountain?
I've heard of it. I've been meaning to watch it.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies, probably, but obviously one of the best occult movies out there. And it's interesting to see the difference. But I guess it depends on the director and how occultism is surging in that decade. Because there's this other movie, Simon, King of the Witches, and there's
Yeah,
also splurges of realism of the conception of occultism in that movie. And it's interesting to see the difference. But I mean, we have the Love Witch now, and I think that implements it in an interesting and kind of accurate way, would you say? Or I think it's just a bit more realistic than other occult modern movies out there.
I'd say like the Love Witch specifically is a bit more realistic because it was based on Gardnerian Wicca.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they also mention various occult practices in there and demonstrate several things through occultism. And I think that's a good example of using the occult to tell a narrative. I think the Love Witch is like an outlier in terms of modern occult media from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of modern stuff, like normally when I think of like modern stuff, I immediately think of Sabrina. Like, not gonna lie,
Yeah, I've never seen that.
good, don't.
All right, I'll take your advice on that.
Like that show has a lot of problems, and like the biggest thing was like they tried to force in occultism with pop culture, with teen drama, and just trying to mix it all in together and trying to appeal to too many different audiences at once. When I think that like if you're trying to make a true occult piece of media, just make it for occultists and not try to appeal it to teenage people who are getting into witchcraft.
But don't you think things such as Sabrina is a reason why occultism is surging right now?
Oh, absolutely, it is. I think it does contribute to a lot of people getting into witchcraft specifically and trying to get into occultism. But it also spreads a lot of misinformation, and because I have been shocked by people actually thinking that certain things in Sabrina are real.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, that's. I suppose there is a bit of good and bad to it all. Because I think it's good that people are more interested in occultism, but also there's a reason why it's called occultism in the first place.
It is secret for a reason.
Secret, secret. Yes.
Secret tunnel. Secret
Secret.
tunnel.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because I think what brought me into occultism was actually the aesthetic of it. But I
Hmm.
think, yeah, stuff. I think that mainly was like, cause, but also I think it was many things. But I really like the aesthetic, and obviously now I don't really give a shit about the aesthetic, but I'm more into the philosophy of it now. So there's definitely a big difference. So I think, again, being attracted to the, what's the right word? It's being attracted or fantasizing or maybe perhaps a romanticization of it. I don't think at first it's necessarily a bad thing. Because I think with a lot of things, how people get into certain stuff, it's through that romanticization. And then when they finally learn about it or have a deeper understanding, then they could drop that romanticization behind and be fully incorporated, right? But I think some people sadly don't lose that fantasization.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Like a lot of people do come in from a romanticized, fantasized point, and it does eventually evolve into something far better that like they actually develop a real practice out of it. Um, but some people definitely don't lose that fantasization, and that's how we get all these like strange trends, like the reality shifting, where
Yes.
it has a weird crossover with the occult community.
Yeah. It's. I want to know more of the origin of how it started and how.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, you and I just talked about it. It's mostly based in escapism, but I want to know who who did this.
Who done
Who
it?
this? Oh, my felt it. Who the son of a bitch who started this all? Just want to talk.
Just want to have a nice chat.
Ask them to join the podcast.
That'd be interesting.
That would actually be interesting because I mean I think you know what, I have no words. I have no thoughts on the matter. Perhaps.
For sure.
True. I don't know. The I mean what we're seeing with witch talk on the rise, it's definitely developed into different trends in occultism. Like the Moldavite thing. You know, I'm not on witch talk. I just hear people complain about it in Discord. And I have
Oh
no
yeah.
idea. I just see the memes. I'm like, that's kind of funny, but I have no idea what this means. And it's the same with, you know, the cultural appropriation, the closed practices, and the whatnot.
Yeah. I give him kind of my spiel on closed practices before.
Hmm.
And like, I guess to elaborate on that, my biggest thing is that it really hurts actual closed practices to just call everything a closed practice because it makes everything seem like a joke.
Yeah.
And like people aren't going to take it seriously. And while I definitely don't think you can actually practice a closed practice or appropriate it without, actually being initiated into it. Because you literally
Hmm.
don't know we don't know what's in those practices. That's why I think it's stupid to say that everything's a closed practice these days if you aren't initiated into those things because you don't know what's in them.
Hmm. I agree, definitely. Because how are you gonna perform or do cultist sabati rites if you're not in the cultist sabati?
Yeah,
Or right? It doesn't make much sense. And I think I don't know. I don't. I want to know how this started. How this became a thing because I feel that what's happening right now, it's I mean, it's definitely started a trend from what you and I've seen in Discord and people asking, "Oh, are the Greek gods, are they a closed practice? Is this and that a closed practice?" But I think the main problem is we're not hearing the voices of these people and these initiatory practices at all. The people
yeah,
who are saying these and that or whatever, that these are supposed air quotes closed practices. They're not in these initiatory practices at all, right?
right. No, they're
And
complete outsiders.
mm-hmm, and
Some
it
people like
seems yeah. Go ahead.
some people like aren't even actual cultists either. They just want to get on the bandwagon.
Mm-hmm. I think I don't know. I want to know how this developed into something that became such a huge thing where we're seeing it everywhere and we have to inform people, oh, this and that isn't, and that's initiatory or whatever. Because I think it's really become a big problem in the occult community. And people who have been in these initiatory practices are being accused of cultural appropriation when there has been no cultural appropriation at all. And it's really sad to see.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of people scared too, because like a lot of people are scared of appropriating or like damaging a culture, which is like understandable, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but cord cutting is not cultural appropriation. You're not going to go to cultural appropriation hell for cutting a string.
Cultural appropriation, hell yeah. How dare you, Aiden? Cord cutting? Oh my god.
I've been doing so many cord cuttings actually recently.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. It's become a problem and it's getting tiring. I'm so tired.
Same. Because I hear about every single day. I'm just like, no, stop, please. Read a
I
book,
know.
touch grass.
I don't know what touch grass means.
It's my new favorite phrase, honestly. It's the best thing that's come out of the cult Discord recently.
I don't get it. I'm
It
so
just
out
means
of.
to touch grass. Go outside, get into
Oh,
nature, and make your own discoveries.
true. That is true. That's a good point. Because it seems there's a lot of. I mean, I guess in occultism, that is the one thing you should be doing is making your own decisions. But it seems people like to follow others.
People tend to be sheeps instead of rams or something. I don't know. Something
So
poetic
that,
like that.
yeah, sheep and sheep. Yeah, I don't know the thing either. Ooh, do you want to be a sheep or do you want to be a monkey?
I want to be a monkey.
We all want to be monkeys. Monkeys are smart.
They are.
Monkey magic.
Monkey magic, yes, that's the best. Actually, I saw a thing recently that like um certain primates are also developing like what can be observed as religion.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, evolution at its finest.
That's actually pretty cool. Have you ever seen a monkey with no fur?
I don't want to see that. I don't
Or
think I can process that.
it's human. It looks so human. It's scary. It's like holy shit, you're me. Just
I'm
tinier.
looking it up right
And
now.
yeah, do it. I'll wait.
Monkey without fur. I spelled it monkey. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Isn't
Oh
that?
my god.
I know, right? It's
That's a
insane.
person. That's a person.
That is a person. Can we teach monkeys about magic?
I'd be down.
That'd be. I mean, in a way, they're already doing it. If we're referring to. I mean, monkeys. I think their true will is just to live and have children and eat bananas.
Yes.
And I
93.
think maybe yes, I need to. I think them living that life every day is magic in itself.
The real magic is the friends we made along the way.
Actually, true. That is
Yeah.
true. Talking to people about occultism is the best.
It is. It's one of my favorite things to do. Like when we can just sit down and talk about occultism. That's like
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
It is. It is. It's so fun. Like, I don't really have anyone to talk to about this in real life. And so, when
Yeah.
I had my job interview the other day, the lady was like spiritual too, even though she was kind of love and light, if that's your thing. But I got to like, for a brief 10 minutes, I got to talk just a little bit of occultism in real life. And I thought, holy shit, this is so nice.
Yeah. I just want to meet people in person who are like into occultism the same way that I am. And like, because I know some people who are like witches or like practice some spiritual stuff, but they aren't like on the same level of depth that like I am, you know?
Oh, yeah. I feel that because usually, I mean, you've been practicing for a while, so I'm sure it would be difficult to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get that. I wonder how people find these other people. I think people just get attracted or they just find these other people. But I guess I suppose. Hmm. Depends where you live too, because I live on West Coast and you live in East Coast. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, that's fine. I've already
Oh,
said where I
okay.
go to school, so it doesn't matter.
Cool, okay. But I feel I've noticed there are a lot of occultists on the East Coast, especially New York City.
That's true, yeah. I I see that like it's really weird, like there's also like a lot more in the South I've noticed.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like the southern, not like the South, like the region, but like the southern parts of America, like
Hmm.
geographically speaking, because that's a whole debacle that I've gotten myself into by just saying the South before. Anyways, like in the southern states of America, there's like a lot more occultists I've noticed.
Wow, I didn't really think about that. That's interesting. I feel like a lot of Thelemites live in the South.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I don't know, that just
I
gives me
pulled up
the
the LTO
vibes.
maps before, and they've like I've seen them all over the place in the South and not as much in the North.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. The West Coast, I feel like there's more witchcraft.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely
like.
on the West Coast.
It's. I feel it's less. I don't know how to explain it, but since I live in areas where there's more of that, interesting. I wonder if
Yeah.
living in
Yeah.
a certain location influences someone's. I mean, I think the way they're occult bringing. I suppose so.
Yeah, that would make sense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like depending on where you live. I mean, like especially in folk magic, it really depends on where you live, like what you'll be working with.
True. Definitely. I think. Like, especially if you live in England, then you're gonna probably be more loosely focused on folk witchcraft, at least in the beginning of your practice, because I feel it's more known and there's probably more groups focused on that there.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should wrap things up.
Sure, sure. We should have thought of more topics.
We have next year to plan.
True. Watch us procrastinate again.
We will.
Beast. Okay. This was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, I really like this. This is pretty
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah, it was just vibes. Talking about occultism.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. You know how to edit audio?
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while,
Oh,
actually.
cool. Nice. Okay. Well,
Cool beans.
very cool. Okay, bye.
Bye.